Hey, what's up? I'm Liz, this Splitsy DIY, and today we're going to be taking a look at my dad's computer. Now, although this may look like kind of an OEM machine from like HP or something like that, this is actually a computer I built for him back in around the holidays in December 2015. So this is about a year and a half old at this point. And if you've been around long enough and you saw the Reptar, which is my computer's upgrade logs, you may have remembered that I said I was going to be doing some maintenance to my dad's computer very shortly. Well, that was over a year ago, and now finally doing it. So let's open up this computer so you can see what specs we're working with and what kind of the goals for today are. Okay, so this is a Rosewell case. This is what the side panel looks like. It slides right off just like traditionally, and there's two thumb screws that are obviously not captive. This is a budget case. It was about, I want to say, a little under $50 on Amazon. And one of the reasons why I also went for this was it has a built-in power supply, as you can see here. The only reason why I was okay with going the case power supply was because it was a case by Rosewell, and Rosewell was on the power supply. And actually, my old power supply and my computer used to be a Rosewell, which is kind of like Newegg's like in-house brand. So it's the only reason why I went with this, and the fact that also his computer was going to be very low power. So I just want to talk quickly about the specs I have in here. I don't really endorse these specs for any computer. My goal here was budget, but also kind of like some long staying power. So the combination of parts in here, they don't really make a lot of sense. So first of all, let's talk about the motherboard and the CPU. It's an ASRock Q1900M motherboard. The processor is under here, soldered to the board, and there's just a heatsink on top. So we're talking like almost kind of single board computer style motherboard here. And they're just really cost-effective ways to get someone like up and running with a computer for something like a mom and pop build. And my dad's needs for his computer is basically just web browsing, and then he uses like Microsoft Excel and stuff just for like simple like data entry and things like that. So doesn't require a lot of power. As you can see, like there's no graphics card, so we're using the integrated graphics on here. He has had, knock on wood, 0 issues with this computer. So this is definitely a stable option if you just have very like minor needs, or you're just building a system really cheap for someone. Then we have the RAM, and the RAM, just refreshing my memory, it is a Team 8 2x4 gig kit, so 8 gigs of RAM total, which is a lot of RAM. It's DDR3, and I went with that because I wanted this to be really fast for him and to also last a really long time, so that's why the 8 gigs of RAM. And then we have a Samsung Evo 250 gig SSD, and that's basically the parts. As you can see with this case though, there is really no cable management, so everything is just kind of out here for all to see, but you know, there's no side windows, so no harm, no foul. There was one 80mm included fan for the back exhaust. There's really no way to mount a fan on the front, because if we take off the front panel, which comes off almost too easily, oh, there is a disk drive, not that you really needed to know. So this is the power button. There's a lovely blue LED on here that just glows ever so serenely when the machine is on. And then 2 USB 2.0 and mic input, headphone jack. Pretty nice, like definitely solid build. Oh, reset button as well. But as you can see, because this is here, you can't mount a fan in here because the button's like right there. So unless you want a fan, you're blocked by the button, like you're not gonna have good luck with that. This mounting point only supports an 80mm fan, and then the only other place I could mount a fan would be on the side of the side panel here, and also 80mm. So I might pick up an 80mm fan at one point to kind of throw that in there. I actually was hoping I could put one of the fans that came stock with my Fantex P400 case in here, but that's just not possible. So there's that. But I want to get this power supply out of here, and I want to put in a new power supply. The power supply I picked up for him is a Corsair CX430. This power supply right now is 400 watts, so this should be fine. and also just be a little bit better. Because there's no vent at the top for the power supply. I'm gonna have to have the fan face downward, but they'll actually create a little bit more airflow for the system, so I don't think that'll be that bad. I'll test temps just to make sure nothing's getting too hot, because, you know, like most parents with their desktops, he has this kind of wedged in a little cabinet in his desk that, like, they built up in the 90s to have computers sit in, so yeah, not a lot of airflow. But when I blew out the system before I opened it up to shoot this video, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't that bad considering it had been running for a little over a year and a half. Like, not too shabby. And that's another reason why I want to change out the power supply. He leaves the computer on like 24/7, so it's really a miracle that this thing is okay. So yeah, let's try to get this power supply in here, and hopefully everything will be kosher with that. So let's build. Okay, so this went really smoothly. I'm kind of used to doing like part swaps where something kind of goes wrong or doesn't fit quite right, or there's a struggle to get something in, but this went super smooth. My only concern when I was putting in the new power supply was that maybe it wouldn't fit, but as you can see, they're basically the identical size. However, one thing that really struck me when I got this out of the computer, the original power supply, how much lighter this is compared to the Corsair. And I definitely think that, you know, you can tell a lot by the weight of some products compared to each other, and I think power supply definitely, and also the sound. Listen to that versus nice. And then also, like, the wires definitely feel like very thin comparatively. So yeah, this is done. It served its purpose. It's a little power supply that could, but I'm glad something a little bit with a better reputation and more than likely some more stability and better components is now in my dad's PC. So yeah, cable management, obviously a little to be desired. There's no cable routing in this machine, and this is not a modular power supply. Neither was the original one. So I just twist tied the Molex and the 8-pin connectors for graphics cards together, shoved them into an unused 5¼ drive bay. That's the one thing about these cases, you know, the super budget ones that don't have cable management, chances are they still have the default kind of trays for older drives, and you can shove the cables in there, which helps a bit. Really, the only thing you have to power with this setup is 24-pin for power to the board, which is also then going to CPU. You don't need 8-pin power for the CPU, and then two SATA connectors for the 5¼ drive bay and the SSD. That's it. So I'll leave the parts linked down below. In this, I'll probably do a PC part picker thing just so that you can like see what's spec'd out in this system. Again, I don't necessarily endorse the exact specs, like 8 gigs of RAM, bit overkill. A Samsung SSD, again, overkill. But again, I chose these parts with the idea that it would kind of future-proof the system for quite a bit and also make it really stable. You know, there's one thing to do a budget build, but pick like really terrible parts, and then guess what? You're gonna end up spending more money either repairing it or replacing it. So really the only thing that I really took a risk on was that power supply that came with the case. And now that's out of the way, so I think now we've got a really healthy, good system in the works. And you know, this case is nice. I like it a lot, you know, so for what it is. So yeah, this has been another episode of Let's Say DIY. If you liked it, toss me a thumbs up. Leave any questions or comments down below. Have you built your parents, grandparents, younger siblings, older siblings PCs to kind of just be like simple web browsing machines? I definitely think I know for a fact this is more cost effective than buying a full tower for someone. So I'm curious if other people are doing that too, if the DIY PC idea is kind of going beyond gaming and content creation, kind of edging into the really like general low power consumer market. Let me know down in the comments. Find me on social media, links are in the description. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing for more content like this. I'm hoping to do a PC build later in the summer actually on this channel. Until next time, this has been Blitz City DIY.